Thank you for joining Wars of the Roses as we conclude with part 2 of Le Comte de St by Johan Franco, F.R.C., an article taken from Rosicrucian Digest, volume 26, number 2, March 1948. Le Comte de St. The Man of Mystery by Johan Franco, F.R.C. Part 2. The artistic achievements of Count de Saint-Germain were highly praised by his contemporaries, and yet it has seemed that not a trace of them remained. However, gradually here and there we find evidence of the Count's activities, especially in the musical field. Not one of the Count's pictorial creations has thus far been located, and we may assume that they were destroyed during the French Revolution because they are said to have represented fastidiously adorned and bejeweled dignitaries. It is not impossible or even improbable that somewhere in an attic one of these paintings is hidden and may be brought to light. We don't know if the Count signed his work. It is quite likely that he did not. If the unusual colors he employed and which caused so much comment in his days had resisted the disintegrating influence of time, the identification would have been considerably facilitated. The Comtesse de St, who was quoted at length in part 1 of this article in the February issue, has the following to say on the subject. He was well acquainted with physics and was a very great chemist. He painted in oil colors, not, as has been said, in the finest style, but very well. He had discovered a secret respecting colors, which was really wonderful, and which gave an extraordinary effect to his pictures. He painted historical subjects in the grand style, and never failed to ornament the draperies of his women with precious stones. He then employed his colors in painting these ornaments, and his emeralds, sapphires, rubies, etc., had all the brightness and the glancing brilliancy of the precious stones they imitated. Latour, Van Loo, and other painters went to see these paintings and admired extremely the surprising effect of these dazzling colors, which, however, had the disagreeable effect not only of throwing the figure into shade, but of destroying by their truth all the illusion of the picture. Notwithstanding, in the ornamental style, these colors might have been happily employed, but Monsieur de Saint-Germain never would consent to give up the secret. In the literary field, there is one highly mystical poem attributed to Saint-Germain. It is written in French. We do not know when this sonnet was conceived, but it sounds unmistakably oriental in its contents. The idea of nirvana plays a major part in it, and the poem could have been written during one of the Count's journeys to the Orient. Saint-Germain himself wrote to Count Lamberg, "I owe the discovery of the melting of precious stones to my second voyage to India, which I undertook in 1755 with Robert Clive under command of Vice Admiral Watson. On my first trip, I had obtained only very slight knowledge on this wonderful secret. All my attempts in Vienna, in Paris, in London served only as experiments to find the philosopher's stone I was privileged in said period." The following is a free translation as to meaning without conforming to the sonnet rhyme and line length. Philosophical sonnet. Curious scrutinizer of all nature, I have known the beginning and the end of the great all. I've seen the gold in all its might in the depth of the mine. I've grasped its substance and understood the workings of its leaven. I could explain by which art the soul makes its home in the flanks of a mother and carries on, and how a grain of wheat and a grape stone, both when put under the humid dust, become young blade and vine stock, and ultimately bread and wine. Nothing was God-willed, nothing became something. I doubted it. I searched upon what the universe is based. Nothing kept it in balance, and nothing supported it. Finally, with the measure of praise and reproach, I measured eternity. He called my soul. I died. I worshipped. I knew nothing anymore. Threefold wisdom. We have come now to the most precious occult document in existence. La Très Sainte Trinosophie, the most holy threefold wisdom, which is generally attributed to the Count de Saint-Germain. If we trace its history, we find little evidence that it was created by the Count. All we know is that he was in possession of the original at one time, and that he himself undoubtedly went through its initiation. The beautiful manuscript, which now rests in the Librairie de Troyes in France, is only a copy made during Saint-Germain's lifetime and decorated in the then very fashionable Egyptian manner. The original was destroyed by the Count on one of his voyages. We cannot here even begin to analyze this profound document. That would include a thorough knowledge of the Hermetic philosophy, the Kabbalah, and alchemy. which three constitute the threefold wisdom. Another enigmatic work attributed to the Comte de St is entitled La Magie Sainte révélée à moi, retrouvée dans un monument égyptien et précieusement conservé en Asie sous la devise d'un dragon aile. The sacred magic revealed to Moses, rediscovered in an Egyptian monument and preciously preserved in Asia under the design of a winged dragon. This manuscript, written in a fairly simple cipher, is a ritual of ceremonial magic with instructions how to accomplish three miracles. One, to find things lost in the seas since the upsetting of the globe. Two, to discover mines of diamonds, gold and silver in the heart of the earth. Three, to prolong life beyond 1 century with strength and health. Musical composition. We read in many accounts about the great musicianship of the Comte de St, but nowhere do we find his name in the music dictionaries, at least not under Saint-Germain, but we do find him mentioned under another name, namely under the name of Giovannini, an Italian violinist and composer, birth year unknown, who died in 1782 and who had been a pupil of Leclerc. Grove's Dictionary of Music and Musicians tells us that he went from Berlin, where he lived most of the time, to London in 1745 and produced under the pseudonym of Count de Saint-Germain, a pasticcio entitled Lung Constanza de Lusa, Haymarket, April 7, 1745, in which the airs were much admired. He also wrote 7 violin solos, which are really complete sonatas with figured bass accompaniment, and many songs. The most important work, however, seemed to be the 6 sonatas for 2 violins with a bass for the harpsichord or violoncello, which were published around 1750 by I. Walsh in London. Walsh printed a small advertisement on the bottom of the title page of the 6 sonatas about another work by the same author. Musique raisonnée selon le bon son aux dames angloises qui aimant la vraie goutte en cet art. Curiously enough, we find exactly the same words in French inscribed by our Comte de Saint-Germain in a copy of that work which he dedicated to his friend and host, Prince de Lobkowitz, at Raudnitz Castle in Bohemia. The Count de Lamberg mentions in his forementioned book that the Count intended to go to Vienna to meet again Prince Ferdinand Lobkowitz, whom he had known in London in 1745. That explains how the London publisher of the 6 sonatas could have seen the Musique raisonnée with its dedication to Prince Lobkowitz. The most amazing feature is the exact imitation the engraver of the 6 sonatas made of the mysterious symbol in front of the name de Saint-Germain. This symbol is as yet unexplained because we do not know definitely what initials are represented. There's a letter in the British Museum of the Count to Sir Hans Sloane, 1735, signed P.M. de Saint-Germain. Here, then, we have the undeniable proof that the great mystic who called himself the Count de Saint-Germain was actually the man who wrote the music attributed to Giovannini. We read in Grove's account of Giovannini also that the song Willst du dein Herz mir schenken has been attributed to Johann Sebastian Bach for some time. The reason was that it was found in Anna Magdalena's, Bach's wife, second and largest music book, with the marking Aria di Giovannini on the outside of the page. Scholars considered this to be an Italianization of Bach's first name, Johann, but this has been widely disputed since then. Dr. Alfred Heuss argued that if Giovannini had really written it, he would have been so proud of it that he surely would have made it known to the world that he was the composer of it, and would have published it with his other songs. This argument loses all its strength since we know that Giovannini was the Count de Saint-Germain. The Count seemed to thrive on just this type of mystification. He never attempted to justify his moves and actions, even under the most embarrassing circumstances. We might also point out that it was quite common for one composer to copy by hand an admired composition of another. Bach frequently did that with illustrious contemporaries, like Vivaldi, for instance. There is an unmistakable Bach flavor in the song in question, but that proves nothing because we notice this also in other works of Saint-Germain. His music is delicate, graceful, and charming without being extremely profound or original. It does show a particular characteristic which can be readily felt and recognized throughout the various works, large and small. It definitely proves to be the typical product of an elegant period without ever becoming boring or trivial. It does not attain the Olympic heights of a Johann Sebastian Bach, nor does it quite match the nostalgic beauty of a Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. but it rather compares favorably with Telemann, Quantz, Carl Philipp, Emanuel Bach, and his other contemporaries. We find the work overshadowed also by the musical giants before and after Bach, Mozart, and Beethoven. That accounts for the total eclipse of Saint-Germain's music. There is a wealth of beautiful music hidden in the great libraries of the world, just waiting for someone to rediscover and revive them. Facts, not fiction. We have tried here to present absolute facts known to be true about the Count and to discard all doubtful information and frivolous gossip. Many facets of the life of this strange man will never become entirely clear. Napoleon III ordered a complete dossier to be made on the Comte de St. After this was done, the complete material with all its priceless documentation went up in flames with the building in which it was kept during the Commune as if it were destined to remain a secret. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment, and if you can, please consider donating to Wars of the Roses. Links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. Thank you so very much.